Hey guys, Mike from Powers Crafts and Camping here. Today I'm coming at you with another knife review, so stick around. So today, I actually wanted to do my Leatherman Wave review, but an unfortunate turn of events happened this week and I lost it in an attic of a customer's house. So we won't be doing that review for a little while. Oh well, things happen. Just an excuse to buy another tool. But today, we're coming at you with a review of the Esee Izula and Izula 2. So, there's not much difference in these knives here. The only difference is your handle size. The blade shapes are the exact same, the blade sizes are the exact same, but as you can see here, the handle's a little bit longer on the Izula 2. So I've been carrying this knife on and off for about three and a half years. This is the first model I picked up. Was the Izula 2. I've had this one for a long time, and I've bought and sold multiple ones of these, but this is the one I stuck with. As you can see, it's been through hell. It's got some drywall dust on it, it's got some rust on it. Got to clean this blade up, but she works for me. She does a great job. So I've been using this knife for a lot of different things. It is a small knife, but I have used it for camping and bushcraft tasks. Things like making kindling, making feather sticks, striking a ferro rod. I've even used it as a makeshift oil wrench. I told you guys that story in my previous video, but if you didn't see that, basically I was changing the oil on my truck and I didn't have my oil wrench for some reason. So I took this knife, well, it was actually this knife here, my Izula 2, and I took a screwdriver and I tapped the back of it into the oil, and then I just pried it and used it as an oil wrench. I used it as a mini pry bar. I don't have any worries saying that because Esee has a fantastic warranty. I used it as a scraper. Basically anything you would use a box cutter / utility knife for, I use this knife for. I beat the ever living crap out of it. Whenever I go camping, it's my main firecraft knife. Most of the time I can get away with just carrying an Izula and my axe. I always carry my pocket knife and a good belt knife anyway, like a good 4-inch belt knife. But really, all I really need is my carpenter's axe and an Izula, and I can do everything I really need to do in a campsite. I would add my pocket knife to it for food prep, because this thing's not very good for food prep. It's 3/16 of an inch thick, and it's got a very shallow blade here for how thick it is, so it's really thick behind the edge, so it's not a very slicey knife, but we'll get into that in a minute. Some pros about these knives. First and foremost, they are an extremely tough knife, extremely tough. Like I said, 3/16 of an inch thick. They're thick all the way down to the edge. Not super thick behind the edge, but thicker than most behind the edge. They're 1095 carbon steel. Rowan, or the people who manufacture the knives, and Esee Esee's the designer of it and the owner of it. But Rowan does a fantastic job on the heat treat on these things. So you can see Rowan there. They do a fantastic job on the heat treat on these things. So it's harder to snap one of these things than you think. I like the fact that it's 1095 steel. Like I was talking about, I beat the hell out of this thing. 1095 is a really easy steel to sharpen and maintain. Whether in the field or whether at home, it's really easy to maintain. It's, like I said, it's extremely tough. It's hard to break. Decent steel. It's not a super steel by any means. 1095 is an old steel. It's no super steel by any means. It's not stainless, so if you're worried about rust, keep the coating on it. I took the coating off of mine. I'll get a little bit more into that whenever I get to the cons of this knife, the reasons why I don't like it. These knives are really fun to customize. You can go to Instagram or Facebook and go to the Esee page and you can see people, they have fully customized ones of these and they look beautiful. They do beautiful file work to the top. They etch stuff in the sides of them, and they customize their own scales. They make their own sheaths. So it's awesome. These things are very customizable. I would say almost like the Glock of the knife world. These things. Esee has the best warranty in the business, hands down, bar none. I could take this knife, stick it in a bandsaw and cut it in half, send it to Esee and say, hey Esee, I stuck this knife in a bandsaw and I cut it in half. And they would probably call me a freaking idiot, but they'd send me a new knife. They have a completely unconventional warranty, which is pretty great. I do like fixed blades. I like carrying fixed blades. I don't like carrying big fixed blades. Big fixed blades. Say that 3 times fast. I don't like carrying big fixed blades. So this thing just kind of did it for me. I originally started carrying this guy, and I carried it apex. Or not apex, I'm sorry. I carried it horizontal on the front. I guess apex is what you would call it. And then I started carrying on my belt on a shock cord, stuck it in my pocket, but it would interfere with my pocket knife. So I went and got an armitage sheath for it, and this armitage sheath fits either the 2 or the regular Izula. But I do love a fixed blade, so I carry this fixed blade very often. I don't really have any other small fixed blades, so this is kind of my default anyway. I'm looking to pick up a Bradford here soon, Bradford Guardian 3, so we'll see how they stack up against each other. Being 1095, it patinas, and I love a good patina on a knife. It just shows that you use it and you work with it. I love how whenever someone posts something on an Esee page and says, you know, how do I get the rust off my knife, blah blah blah, and the Esee team comments back themselves and just says, use it. Yes, I love that. They're very fond of people using their knives. It's fantastic. I love the Esee. I love the group, and I love the knives. They're awesome people, and they make awesome knives. And another thing of the good is the stock sheath isn't a bad sheath. There's some knives, some fixed blade knives that you get, like my Bradford Guardian 4.5. The sheath is kind of garbage and doesn't really fit the knife very well, but this sheath's pretty good. This one's old and worn out, so retention, you can hear that. It kind of wiggles around in there. And also, if you get a lot of sand and grit in here, it can rub on that edge, kind of dull the blade a little bit. But the stock sheaths are not bad. But I do, however, really like Armitage's aftermarket sheath that they make for it. This is their Architect. Pretty great sheath. This is the configuration I carry every day. So, some bads about this, and they're not even like bads as in like don't buy this knife bads, but it's just some stuff that I'm nitpicking personally. The Izula comes without handles. The regular Izula comes without handles, and I have carved notches and ran feather sticks and worked with this knife in the woods without handles, and it's very uncomfortable. It's an extremely uncomfortable experience. Now, if you had to, you could. It's not something that you couldn't do, but it's just something you wouldn't want to do. It's just, it's so uncomfortable. Just these $12 scales are leaps and bounds more comfortable. I don't really like the coating. As you can see on my Izula 2 model, I removed the entire coating off of it. This one, I just removed the blade coating. The coating on the handle, I like. I made the mistake of removing it all the way off of this one whenever I first got it, but lessons were learned. So the coating's very good at resisting rust. That's what's awesome about it. But the coating creates drag on the blade, and most people, they say, oh, it's not noticeable drag or whatever. I did notice it, and that's why, because I had this one uncoated, or I had this one coated for a while, and I used it, and this thing just cut so much better than it. So I removed that coating. And also, if you want to use it as a fire starting tool, that coating prevents you from having a 90-degree spine here to strike a ferro rod with. You can use the blade, but I highly suggest against that. And then the last thing is the plastic spacer in here. Wait 1 second, I'm gonna grab my tools to remove that. So, it's a T15 to take these little screws out of the handle. I only have one T15, so let's see if I can, yep, there it goes, it broke loose. So we take these handle scales off. And inside here is supposed to be a plastic spacer that have holes in it that run all the way through. And it's supposed to keep these scales from sliding around like they do on my knife. Well, just after about 2 months of using this knife to baton wood with, that plastic spacer broke. It sent a crack right where one of the screws was. And I didn't like that too much, and now I can't use this knife to baton with. I can, but the scales are going to move all over the place. So this knife is really just used for light carving now. The plastic spacer is in between these two scales here. I don't know why I didn't take that one off though. Anyway, regardless. So that plastic spacer just isn't very durable. I'd like to see maybe Esee in the future maybe do a solid metal handle or do a metal spacer in there or something. Just something that's a little bit more durable. I'm sure I could send that in for warranty to them, but oh well. I'll just buy another Izula 2 anyway. I plan on it. So I just want to say thank you guys for watching the video and tuning in today. Again, this has been a review of the Esee Izula and Esee Izula 2. Just some final thoughts on this. It's a good knife. It's definitely a good knife. If you get the regular Izula, definitely get scales with it. And if you get the knife and you're like me, remove the coating on the blade so you can strike it with a ferro rod. It creates less drag whenever you cut. But this is a good knife. Great warranty. This is a knife that will last you the rest of your life. It'll last your great grandkid the rest of their life. Alright, I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope to see you on the next one.